You know, we've been doing a lot of roast videos lately. It's feeling like a return to form around here. No more of that nerd stuff like numbers and facts or figures. Instead, it's just memes and incoherent shouting. I think I've bottled up that side of myself for too long, and now this is what happens. Just to show you guys, you shouldn't put on airs. Unless you're Maverick Vinales, then you should pretend to be a fast rider once in a while. In keeping with this newfound self-affirmation, how's about another roast? This time we're going to talk about 10 of the stupid things that motorcyclists say, either to other riders, or to make excuses, or to brag, or to normies to sound like they're a badass or something. In fact, I'm willing to believe that more than a few of you people in the comments have said these very words at some point in your riding career. Oh, and to that one person in the comments on the Pan Am versus Husky video who said they didn't like the salty roast videos, do you not like having fun, or did some of our jokes just hit a little too close to home? Now, before we dive into this video, I need to take a second and remind you all that we have a brand new intermediate bike giveaway in the shop. Finally, I have heard the complaints of the Z900 simps, and I have purchased one as a giveaway bike. That's right, we are now giving away a Kawasaki Z900 RS. What do I think of it? Is it everything that the Z900 people tell me it is? I don't know, why don't you go check out my first ride video that went live yesterday. But better still, click the link down below in the description and get yourself over to shop.yamanoob.co, where you can get yourself 3x entries on every dollar you spend on merch, gear, parts, tools, personal massagers, love pillows, and more by using the code UJM. You need to hurry though, because that deal ends in the next 48 hours. Remember, code UJM for 3x entries on every dollar you spend over on shop.yamanoob.co. Number one on today's list is one we've probably all said at some point when we asked why we got a motorcycle in the first place. Quote, "It's cheaper than owning a car." Excuse me for a moment. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's funny. Okay, look, I understand where you're coming from with this one. I mean, just look at the prices of entry. You can get a brand new Honda Civic for the low price of $22,550, which is pretty outrageous considering how little car that gets you. On the contrary, if you took that $22,550 and bought a motorcycle, you can pretty much buy anything under the sun. Want a two-wheeled Civic? Grab a Goldwing. Maybe a bike that'll really get your juices flowing? Turbo Busa. Or you could be reasonable and get a normal bike for between 8 and 12 grand. So yes, in that sense, bikes are, quote, cheaper than cars, but you need to factor in gear, which needs to be replaced every few years and months, depending on how you ride. There's maintenance, mods, track days, speeding tickets, oh, and not to mention insurance. When you start factoring in all the real-world costs of owning and running a bike, it can start to add up fast. Plus, when was the last time you heard of someone in America replacing their car with a motorcycle? Yeah, to most people, it's just more expensive because it's a toy. Number two, quote, "My bike is faster than your supercar." This is another one of those lines we use to justify why we bought a two-wheeled death machine, when the reality is we just could not afford that brand new Lambo or Ferrari or whatever four-wheeled monstrosity you had a poster of over your bed as a kid. Time for a reality check, my squids. Is your motorcycle faster than a supercar off the line? Yeah, probably. There are very few cars that can touch a motorcycle 0 to 60 or 60 to 120 or 60 to 180 like we do on the Turbo Busa. But once you start getting into triple digits, cars become much faster because of their bigger engines, better aerodynamics, oh, and airbags. Not to mention, around a racetrack, the lap record for an F1 car around Mugello is 1 minute 18 seconds, .833. For a bike, it's 1 minute 45.187. Sorry guys, we might be having more fun dragging knee, elbow, head, or whatever your preferred limb is, but there's no world in which a bike can out-corner a car. It's okay to admit to yourself that you couldn't afford your dream car, so you bought something else instead. Finishing out our trifecta of things we might say to car people is one from the ADV camp. Why did you buy that big ADV bike? Some truck nuts having Ford F-150 driver might ask. Why? Because it's just like a fully loaded up pickup, the ADV boy retorts, pointing to his BMW GS, Harley Pan Am, Ducati Multistrada, or some KTM. Really now? It's just like a fully loaded pickup truck. Well, as someone who's got a brand spanking new Ram 1500 Limited with air-conditioned seats, I beg to differ. I mean, sure, you have a ton of features on your bike, I'll give you that, and feature creep is a big reason why both ADV boys and truck people keep going to the dealer and upgrading every year, but come on, in terms of comfort, no comparison. Spike just got done hauling halfway across the US on our loaner Pan Am, and after 3 days on the road, he did not sound like the happiest camper. I mean, meanwhile, I did a similar drive in my truck, and while it was super boring, uncomfortable is not a word I would use to describe that trip. In fact, I was hanging out with my fiance and petting my dog and eating snacks. That was pretty good. Are ADV bikes analogous to the pickup truck of the motorcycle world? Sure, I'll admit to that, but comparing an ADV bike to a pickup truck directly is kind of a losing game for the motorcyclist. Kind of goes for any bike, frankly. Your Versys 650 might be the most comfortable motorcycle you've ever ridden, but it's still just a motorcycle, and cars have air conditioning. But let me take a break from stupid things bikers say to talk about one dumb thing they do, and that's eat a bunch of greasy fast food all the time. Yep, HelloFresh sponsor incoming.
HelloFresh offers a huge variety of quick and easy recipes for you to choose from each week. Cook, eat, and clean faster so you can catch a sunset ride with a full belly this summer. Even better, HelloFresh is up to 72% cheaper than dining in at a restaurant, so you can afford to upgrade your motorcycle. Fit and wholesome recipes make it easier to eat well without sacrificing flavor. Quit buying carbon fiber for your parts and just ditch the belly. That's how you're going to be faster, guys. We have to film the food that we cook for these promotions, and we absolutely love how convenient it is to have HelloFresh delivering meals straight to our door, because it means we get to have really nice food around the office when we're filming. Go to HelloFresh.com and use the code YAMMYNOOB16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 surprise gifts. I wonder what those are going to be.
Number 4, quote, motorcycles aren't dangerous, you just don't know how to ride. This is something you might hear a rider tell a normie when a normie has tried to convince a rider that bikes are dangerous, or perhaps on a rider who's talking to another who's given up because they got into a wreck. There's 2 levels of delusion in this one. First, that bikes aren't dangerous. Yeah, they absolutely are. Look guys, I'm a diehard motorcyclist, but we have to admit this here. When was the last time you got road rash driving around in a car? I'm not talking about the STD you picked up at the truck stop. If you crash on a motorcycle, there is a 100% chance that some part of you is going to make contact with the ground. That just doesn't happen in a car. Secondly, quote, you just don't know how to ride is textbook moto elitism. You're implying that the reason they crashed is their fault, which maybe it was, or maybe some soccer mom with a cell phone in one hand and Starbucks in the other pulled out in front of them without checking. It happens all the time. Frankly, I don't like riding on the road all that much anymore because it is so dangerous and unpredictable. If you say stuff like this, you should have a long, hard look about yourself. Though, don't think too hard, your brain is probably air-cooled and will seize up. Number 5, quote, I don't wear gear because I don't crash. This is one that you hear a lot of old Harley pirates say right before they go on a ride with their helmet strapped to the back of their seat and the ballistic protection of their bar and shield tattoo on their arm. It's like some reverse psychology that they play on themselves. You can almost see where they're coming from. If you're not wearing protective gear, they'll ride slower and stay well within the limits so they don't go down. Okay, but what about the soccer mom I mentioned in the last point? Or what about if a decreasing radius corner catches you off guard and you go down? Again, the road is a deeply unpredictable place to be. There's distracted drivers, cuddly forest creatures who might want to run out into the road and give you a hug. Gravel, hell, even an unfortunately placed tar snake can do you in. It's better to be wearing gear and not need it than to go down and need to have butt skin grafted onto your chest. I'm just saying. Like those old ATGAT warriors always say, dress for the slide, not for the ride. Number 6 is the thing the Harley pirate from the last entry says to their buddy over a beer after they get injuries from not wearing their gear. It's the classic, I had to lay her down, brother. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. If I never hear this phrase again, it'll be too soon. This is one of the dumbest things you could possibly say, and just talking about it makes me angry. I hear this on the track, on the street all the time, this I had to lay her down. This is an excuse trotted out when asked why they crashed their bikes. It's shorthand for I had to lay the bike down or it would have been worse. Worse in this case meaning a high side or head-on crash or something like that. This is the thinking of someone whose brain is polished to a mirror shine. Chances are if you just trusted in your tires, been a little harder on the brakes, or just flat out paid more attention while you're riding, you'd be just fine. The answer to your problems is never to throw your shiny motorcycle on the ground when 9 times out of 10 an accident can be avoided if you just ride it out. Also, if we're being completely honest, very few of you are in a position to where in the immense stress and pressure of about to be into an accident, you make a conscious decision to flip the bike downwards into the ground. You probably just crashed. Number 7 is another cruiser boyism that you might hear when they acknowledge the diversity of motorcycling for 2 seconds and interact with a sport bike rider. Quote, yeah, I can't ride one of those. I'd kill myself. This implies that the very second they get on a sport bike, their self-preservation instinct, their motorcycling skills, and their common sense would liquefy and dribble out of their nose like it's allergy season and they're allergic to growing old. You're no more or less likely to get hurt on one style of street bike over another. It's all down to how you ride and the risks you're willing to take. Also, when was the last time you heard of a sport bike getting the Dyna death wobble at 90 miles per hour? Number 8. 4 wheels moves the body, 2 wheels moves the soul. This is what you hear when someone with no personality purchases a motorcycle as a way to make themselves seem cooler. It's part and parcel with the live to ride patches on a vest that you don't see a motorcycle outside the therapist's office signs in divorced dads' garages and the $40,000 CVO with 500 miles on the odometer. Just say motorcycles are cool and move on. No one cares about the soul-fulfilling bond you and your motorcycle may or may not share, whether or not that bond is sexual. Whatever a consenting adult and a motorcycle do within the confines of their own garage is between them. Just don't inflict your cringe-worth lifestyle slogans upon the rest of us, please. Number 9, whoops. Yeah, just whoops, usually said in the garage right after you realize that the torque spec was 120 inch-pounds and not 120 foot-pounds, and you proceeded to rip a hole in the bottom of your oil pan. Whoops is normally followed by number 10, I have a great relationship with my dealer or mechanic, whoever you take your borked motorcycle to. It's not just 10 thumbed home mechanics who trot this one out. You'll hear Ducatistas, BMW dads, KTM simps, and other Eurobike people say this right before forking out the old credit card and plunging deeper and deeper into debt to keep their bikes running. Remember when I said that bikes are not as cheap as cars? Though normally they could solve that problem by inflating their tires themselves, but hey, I'm not gonna judge. Fact, editor Bennett Cerf challenged Dr. Seuss to write a book using no more than 50 words. The result? Green eggs and ham. Goodbye.